He just loves this. That's a quote. Talking deals with the most powerful people in the world when he's got all the cards and leverage is like air for him.
President Trump's loving his tariff fight against the world. The apex negotiator giving himself 90 days to cut highly tailored deals for America while choking out China.
All right, guys, buckle up because what you're about to see is the real reason that President Trump has the upper hand in the global tariff war with China. While the media is mocking him and Hollywood is crying foul, Trump's out here negotiating like a boss with all the leverage, none of the fear. Jesse Waters and the Five just laid it all out, and it's explosive, guys. You're going to want to see every second of it. Let's roll the clip, and then I'm breaking it all down.
The commies slapping us with 125% tariff, but they won't go any higher. Xi also thinks Trump's going to crack by slapping around liberal Hollywood. Beijing is threatening to moderately reduce the number of U.S. films allowed into the country. But Trump's not fazed by the Chinese not getting to see Snow White.
What's your reaction to them now targeting cultural exports from the United States?
I think I've heard of worse things.
How close are you to the first country coming to actually make a deal with the United States over tariffs? Is it days, months, weeks?
Well, I think it's very close, but, we have to have a deal that we like. We don't want a deal that's going to be a bad deal, or I could make every deal in one day if I wanted to. I could do this all in one day. I could just say, here's what we'll do.
Mr. Wonderful thinks it's about time someone took the fight to China.
I don't care if it's 1,000% tariffs. They have to come to the table now and not just settle this trade war. They need to settle all of this unbalanced situation. They cheat, they steal, they don't play by the rules, and I've had enough. And so I would like this thing worked out. I don't care about the volatility. I don't care if Trump ratchets it up 25% a day.
What do you mean? Wait, Kevin. What do you mean you don't care about volatility if volatility has a direct impact on us as consumers?
Because we have to fix this problem once and for all.
And leave it to CNN to act like a bunch of elitist snobs, mocking the working man for getting shafted by terrible trade deals.
On behalf of the forgotten working class of this country.
Will we please stop this forgotten working class?
We will not, sir. We will not,
I'll
sir.
tell you, nonsense. Everybody in some shape or form, is part of a working class, either historically, today, or whatever. And every one of us, in some shape or form, lives in an economic environment where we are aware of what is happening in our own areas. But this idea that somehow it's Wall Street versus Main Street, and Main Street doesn't care about Wall Street, and Wall Street just wants...
All right, Brian Kilmeade, who was that guy, by the way?
I don't know. He looks so familiar. 1 minute he's an expert at walking in the park. The next minute he's an expert at air travel. I'm not sure what he's doing, but he's yelling at the wrong person. Batya wrote a book about working class America a year and a half ago. So she said that she got to get ahead of this. And Scott Besson, who did my radio show when he was just a thought about Treasury Secretary, said, I asked what his biggest worry. And he said, income disparity. I said, why? He goes, there's not enough money for working class people. And he goes, and I say that as a guy that has done very well for myself. He came in, had very little, was able to work his way up, worked for George Soros, and wants to be Treasury Secretary to give back. So I'm fascinated by this matchup. And right now, in so many ways, I feel like this is back to the pandemic in that we had to go study China. They started this pandemic, what's going on here? And then we're trying to look at their economy. And so much of this is a house of cards. Though young people are not working over there, they got huge problems with housing. They got empty cities. Nobody has any opportunity. They live to export. If they can't export, they can act as tough as they want. They'll begin to collapse. This guy's going to feel the pressure quickly, and Trump knows it.
Joe Biden probably could have done this when he was president. You had the whole world against China after they unleashed this virus.
Yeah.
And he just sat on his hands, Katie.
Well, I think he did more than that, or less than that, you could say. China has never been held responsible for the COVID-19 pandemic, killing millions of people all around the world, sending false and fake PPE all over the world, fake testing kits when they claimed that they were delivering humanitarian aid to countries in Europe. But this current trade war, the president has leverage here because he has isolated China. Now the world has a choice. We can either go with cheap Chinese goods, which we know are broken and fake and that do not have longevity. And that includes things sold at Walmart, but also things built in countries like Africa, where China has gone through and promised, we'll build you a bridge, we'll build you infrastructure. It all starts crumbling down after they imported Chinese workers to do those jobs. And then they walk away and say, we don't care if your bridge collapsed. We don't care if these things aren't working for you. You still owe us money and you're stuck in this debt trap. The president understands that legacies are not built on snapshot polling. Yes, this tariff situation is new. People are not comfortable with it. It's different. It is going to potentially cause some short-term pain, but it's part of a broader economic plan that the president has with tax cuts, deregulation, spending cuts. And so they're in this for the long haul, and so is China. They have a 100-year plan. And if China wants to go with looking at the rest of the world and saying, take our exports versus the United States, I think the world is going to say your credibility in terms of the goods that you provide after stealing intellectual property, which is to the tune of $600 billion from American corporations, I think most of the world is going to choose the better, more credible country, which is the United States.
Jessica, China going after Hollywood. Do you think that was the smartest point of leverage to take on Donald Trump?
Isn't the art of the deal that's just an opening gambit, right?
Okay.
We'll ease our way into that.
Yeah.
I think that China knows that there are tens of millions of Americans that own small businesses that rely on goods from China that are going to be completely bankrupted by these tariffs. And that's really what this is about. They can say what they want about Hollywood, but that's what it's going to come down to, that people need to be able to go, to Walmart and get the things that they want. And that's what the CEO of Walmart is saying. That's what people like Ken Langone is saying, calling what Trump's doing BS. This is someone who's a strong supporter of his. Ken Griffin as well. I was struck by what Larry Fink said this morning on CNBC. This is the head of BlackRock. The U.S. post-World War II was a global stabilizer. We are now a global destabilizer. Yes, I do believe we're probably starting, if not already in a recession. This is not a pandemic. This is not a financial crisis. This is something we've created. And that's the trend line here, that smart people who create jobs, who are really rich, who have done well, who Donald Trump respects, know that what he is doing is about his own fantasies and not about the realities of the economics here. The dollar is weakening. People are dumping U.S. assets. They don't think that we're a good bet. And the American public, the lower classes that Scott Bessent is so concerned with, are losing their minds. Consumer sentiment dropped to its second lowest level since 1952 when they started recording this. Do you think that's a good thing, that the American public who need to be able to get up and go to the grocery store and get that flat screen TV, right, if that's what they want?
Do you think the last 40 years of trade have been good?
Yeah, they have been good.
For the middle class. Have it been good for the middle class, Jessica?
If you're talking specifically about protectionists, policies about
jobs
auto
and
manufacturers,
factories and honor in the Rust Belt and across the country.
What's more
where
important
people got hammered by cheap
Jesse,
Chinese
why
goods
are there
and
tens
taken
of
advantage
thousands of manufacturing jobs available? Because people don't want them. That's what folks who are smart about this are saying. We can't have a manufacturing economy. We don't have the workers for it. We don't have the interest in it.
She's talking about a different type of manufacturing. We're not talking about T-shirts. We're talking about aerospace. We're talking about steel. We're talking about automobiles. We're talking about robotics and AI. Those are the types of high-tech jobs the president's looking to return.
But I also think that the arguments over volatility or the arguments over the small business reliance on certain things, it's very short term. It's very myopic. It reminds me of sort of if someone's breaking up with a violent, controlling partner. And it's like, well, but, all your friends are through me. Like, it's sort of a dependence that's based on a total fallacy of trust. And the reality is that in the last 40 years, our deficit to China is not only at times in the trillions, but up to the billions in terms of the trade goods deficit. But we also, when we had to bail out American workers, for example, to the tune of $27 billion, 26 billion of that was tethered even to China. Us bailing out our farmers because of our dependence on China still required a dependence on China. everything that we do has been absolutely tethered to this country that has such a lopsided power differential. And finally, we are reclaiming. And the extrication of a system that has had us under its heel for the last 40 years, as we have created a system where we rely on cheap, faulty goods that are destroyed, that we've sort of fed into this consumerism, fast casual lifestyle. It's okay to put that on pause while the extrication has a bit of growing pains for the long-term self-independence so that we don't have to have such a lopsided existence. I don't buy that the status quo, because it is somehow the reason why it should remain. And I note, too, that despite the confidence in the stock market at this moment, I think there's a greater appreciation for the short-term value of it, because the number one cabinet member currently of the Trump administration that has consumer confidence, that has voters' confidence, is Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. And so I think to that point, people know that they're making a good decision that might hurt for a short amount of time, but in the long run, it will be so much more valuable to be untethered from China.
And to see these deals get better and better, you're going to have Israel, you're going to have South Korea, Japan is going to be first, Italy's coming on Wednesday, El Salvador is something unrelated on Monday. But little by little, all these deals, you're going to be hearing the positive news about other reconfigurations of our trade deal. All these deals are going to be better, marginally better or much better. The EU is going to be fascinating.
I don't know why you think that that's going to be the case. He says now, Trump says that we have raw deals with Canada and Mexico. He negotiated the USMCA himself. He does not have a good track record of doing this. So you talk about the USMCA. I'm not sure what Canada's doing. I just
Joe Biden did no trade deals.
That's not true.
Vietnam,
first of all, that's absolutely
textiles.
not true.
That is true.
There were no trade deals under the Biden administration.
Trade deals that move markets or goods.
Australia doesn't even take our beef. We lost 4 million jobs
because of how much
China.
Hormones we have pumped
That's
into.
what
You
they
ate
say.
the same
point,
beef.
the imbalance.
Right.
You don't go to a restaurant, Jessica, and say, I'll have the hormone-free beef.
If it was an option,
you
I
order
would
it
pay
off
up
the
for
menu,
it.
and you look great, by the way. See
by
what
the
I
way-
did? See what I did?
It's true.
All right.
Two babies look
I do.
like this.
I have hormone replacement beef, and that's
Does that
also
taste
the best.
better?
Yes, it's much
That sounds
better.
like a personal
little
issue.
chewy.
Guys, if you haven't already, do me a big favor, hit that thumbs up like button. It helps push this video to more people and exposes the truth behind the spin. Now, let's talk about what we just watched, because this is exactly why Trump still terrifies the global elite. President Trump is not fazed, not even a little bit. The pressure, the threats, the media noise, he feeds off of it. This is a man who thrives on leverage and high-stakes deals. China slapped the United States with 125% tariffs, but here's the kicker. They said they won't go any higher. Why? Because they can't. Trump's holding the line, and Beijing's running out of plays. And let's not ignore, guys, the absurdity of their so-called retaliation. Banning Hollywood films? That's your big move, China? Cutting off Frozen 3 and Marvel reruns isn't going to break America. If anything, it just proves how little cultural influence they actually have over us. Trump's not losing sleep over Beijing's movie night cancellations, guys. Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful himself, nailed it. China cheats. They steal intellectual property. They manipulate currencies. They rig the game. And for decades, we let them. That's not an opinion, guys. That's a fact. And now, finally, someone's fighting back. And what does the corporate media do? They mock him. They mock working class Americans. CNN and the rest of the elitist crew would rather protect broken trade deals than admit that Donald Trump's winning for the people that they claim to represent. You heard the panel, guys. This isn't just about tariffs. It's about reclaiming independence, breaking free from China's chokehold on our economy, from fake PPE during COVID, to buying off African governments with crumbling infrastructure. China's a debt trap. And America, we've been feeding into it with every cheap disposable product sold at Walmart. Guys, enough is enough. Of course, there are critics. People like Ken Lagone, Larry Fink, and even CEOs who supported Trump. Now they're getting cold feet because it's causing market volatility. But Trump's not looking for short-term optics. He's playing the long game. He knows that this might hurt for a little while, but it's nothing compared to being economically enslaved to a communist regime for another 40 years. Let me ask you this, guys. Do you want short-term savings or long-term sovereignty? Do we keep selling out to a country that unleashed a virus on the world, stole billions in IP, and manipulates entire markets? Or do we finally take the hit now and walk away free? That's what this is about. Guys, let me know down in the comments, do you think that Donald Trump is right to go this hard at China? Do you support this America First trade policy, even if it costs a little bit more at the store in the short term? Guys, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I'm dropping real takes like this all week long. And if you want to support the channel, consider becoming a member. It helps us keep the lights on, keep the content coming, and keeps fighting for the truth. Guys, I'll see you in the comments. You'll have a great one. I'll catch you later with another update.